What's up, people? Welcome back. Hopefully you're doing well. And by the looks of today's video, it is not directed towards filmmakers specifically. And if you're new here, you have no idea who I am. My name's Carlo. It's nice to meet you. I'm a cinematographer, I'm a filmmaker, and most of my YouTube content revolves around filmmaking and cinematography. But today, I'm going to be talking about the importance of financial literacy for freelancers. For those of you that are watching this that aren't in the filmmaking space, but you are in the freelance world, this video is definitely for you as well. Unfortunately, this topic is not covered enough, especially in traditional school settings here in the United States. Growing up, elementary, middle, high school, and year or two of college that I went, I was not taught about finances, personal finance, taxes, invoicing people. I was not taught about the different types of bank accounts there are, retirement accounts. At most, I was maybe taught that you should have a checking and a savings account. That's really the extent of what my knowledge was in terms of money and personal finance growing up. And I'm sure a lot of you can also relate to that. Now, before we dive into the topic today, I just want to preface that this is not financial advice. I am not a licensed CPA. I am not your accountant. I'm not your advisor. I am not a person that graduated with a financial degree. I am somebody that owns a business. I'm a freelancer, and I've gone through my own personal experiences, positive and negative, with my own finances. So this is me just expressing what I've went through and what has worked for me thus far. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, and find what is right for you in your particular scenario. Reach out to your CPA, reach out to your personal advisor, reach out to all the people that are connected with you to make the right decisions for you. If you stay to the end of this video, I share a few YouTube channels that have helped me along my journey of personal finance. To preface this entire video, I really want to express the importance of taking the initiative to start understanding your personal finances. As a freelancer, you are your own boss. You are also your own business. And the success of you and your business is solely reliant on your willingness to learn about money. Yes, of course, understanding your craft, being the best that you can is equally as important, but you will never be sustainable long-term in your business if you don't have any idea how to manage your money properly. And for those of you that are watching that are considering making the jump into freelance life, I strongly encourage it. It was one of the best decisions that I've personally ever made in my life. But with that being said, I do say that with caution. If you are ready to make the jump into freelance life, I highly recommend that you have at least 3 to 6 months worth of savings before you make the leap. The reason for that is jumping into freelance, maybe you have some connections, maybe you have some work coming up, but inevitably in the beginning, work is going to be slow. It's just the way it is. And if you're lucky, that might not be the case, but for majority of the people, work will be slow in the beginning and very inconsistent. So having that savings account, at least enough money to get you by over a couple of months, will give you a cushion, give you a safety net, and give you a little bit of a peace of mind while you're trying to grow your business and your freelance life. For me personally, before I jumped into freelance, I had a full-time job, and I made sure that I have enough savings in the bank account to make sure that when I did make that leap, I felt comfortable. But in the meantime, I was working my full-time job and making connections in the filmmaking space. I was meeting with producers, I was meeting with directors. So when it was time for me to make that leap into full-time freelance, I had connections, I had leads already. I didn't just go in blank. I didn't go in with no savings, no connections, no jobs. I made sure that I was prepared going in. So my first advice is for those of you that are willing to make that jump, make that commitment, which is a brave step, and I admire you for doing that. Make sure you're prepared. Have that savings account. Start building your connections now. And then when you're ready, make that leap and commit and go full in on freelance. So quick little backstory. I started my first business in 2016 right out of high school. I was a senior going into freshman year of college. It was a clothing company. And at that time, I did not have a great understanding of my finances, personal or business. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing at all. And it showed. My business dissipated. It wasn't anything successful at all. I made a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, I didn't know how to manage my money properly. I didn't know how to manage my business properly, and it just fell apart. But it was a great learning lesson for me for my next business. So prior to starting my company, I was an intern at a production company doing photography and videography. But I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss. In 2019, 2020, I started my production company, Expansive Media LLC. And it wasn't until I started this company, I got my first LLC, that I realized that I really needed to take control of my finances. Prior to starting this specific business, maybe the reason why I didn't want to learn about finances wasn't because I didn't think I needed it. I always knew that I needed to learn it, but I think I was just afraid. And I think that's the issue with a lot of people, is that Understanding finances, whether it's retirement, understanding expenses, taxes, how to invoice people, all the different types of bank accounts, anything that goes along with finances and business can be really overwhelming for people at a time, especially in the beginning. And for me, that was definitely the case. I felt that there were so many things that I had to learn that I had no idea about that I just couldn't even start. I was just afraid to even dive into it, so I just kind of ignored it. But that is the worst thing you could do. My advice for those that are feeling overwhelmed about understanding your finances, understanding business, is take it one step at a time. And you watching this video may be that first step, and I encourage you to watch another video after this and another one after that, and then slowly you start understanding finances a little bit more. You start understanding how your personal finances work, how you want to structure your bank accounts, how you want to structure your business. And eventually you start getting comfortable in your own space. When starting this business, a few of the things that I had to learn were invoicing clients. I had to learn about expenses. I had to learn about my income and what the difference between gross and net income were. I had to learn about taxes. I had to learn about paying myself. I had to learn about retirement account. I had to learn about so many different things that went into starting this business. But if I didn't start this business, I don't think I would have taken the initiative to actually learn it. So a lot of these topics that I just mentioned, I'm going to dive deeper into on this video and the second part next week. Somewhere around 2020, 2021 is where I truly found out what a cinematographer was, and I became obsessed. And that was the point where I decided to jump ship and not run my production company anymore. This is where I wanted to go full-time freelance as a cinematographer and focus on a specific path within the filmmaking industry. When I went full-time freelance, I didn't just dissolve that LLC that I had. I used that, and I still use it to this day, as the backbone to my business and the entity that I run myself as when I present myself to clients, when I invoice people. I don't invoice people as Carlos Stigliano. I invoice people as Expansive Media LLC. And now in 2023, I can confidently be here sitting with you all talking about finances in a state that is slightly more comfortable. I'm slightly more confident in my ability to talk about finances because of the experiences I went through. And granted, of course, I don't know everything. I probably have not even scratched the surface of the things that I'm going to learn in the future. But there are people out there that are watching this. You are watching this that maybe don't know as much as me, but you could benefit from some of the things that I'm talking about. And there are also some of you that know way more than me that are watching this video. And, sorry if I don't know as much as you, but there are some people that are going to benefit from this video. And hopefully you could take away at least one thing from my personal experiences. So now let's talk about some of the things that I've learned over the years that helped me become more financially literate in myself personally and in my business. The first thing that I want to mention is that you should always treat yourself as a business. Maybe you should consider getting an LLC. This may be for some people. This may not be for some people. I want to preface this by saying, if you are new to freelance, if you've never gotten a job before, if you've never made money, you never made income, profit, an LLC may not be for you because it costs money to get an LLC. You have to pay for it. You have to pay for the maintenance fees every year. You have to have a registered agent. You have to pay taxes. There are so many things that come with an LLC that cost money. And if you are just starting and you're not making a single dollar yet, it might not be the right time yet. But for those of you that are starting to make money, you're starting to get work, you're getting clients, getting an LLC might be the right option for you to start legitimizing yourself as a business. One of the biggest benefits of an LLC is the ability to write off expenses on your tax return. Having an LLC also means that you could set up a business bank account which is separate from your personal bank account. Having an LLC literally means that you personally are not liable for any of the debts that your business incurs. It essentially means that you personally are separated from your business. It is two different entities. And like I said, starting an LLC is not free. It costs money. And there are two ways that you could start an LLC. You can go directly with your state, which will cost a lot less, but that means you have to do a lot more of the work yourself. The second option is going through a third-party provider where it's slightly more expensive, but you do less of the work yourself. And the other reason to get an LLC, not only does it publicly make you more professional, mentally, it could also make a shift within yourself to treat yourself more professionally. Because I treat myself as a business, I run my day-to-day operations as a business. Even though it's just me, even though I don't have 35 employees, I treat myself like I'm running a legitimate business, which means that I have high standards. I don't let things slip. I don't get sloppy. And that's really important to me, is making sure that not only do I present myself to me professionally and at a high standard. Whenever I'm talking to a client or a prospective client or a director or producer, whoever it is you're talking to, you always want to present yourself at the highest standard and with the utmost professionalism. Next thing I want to talk about is opening a business bank account. One of the major benefits of starting an LLC is that you acquire an EIN number, or employee identification number. Having an EIN number allows you to get a business bank account. It also allows you to get a bunch of other things, but for now, let's just start with a business bank account. When you're invoicing clients as a business, it won't go into your personal account anymore, it'll go into your business checking account. When talking about business bank accounts, I want to mention that I recommend 2 bank accounts starting off. And some people may want more, some people may only want 1. But for me, I personally believe that starting off, there are 2 bank accounts that you should always have. The first one is your business checking account, and that is your main hub for your business. That's where all the money will be coming in. That's where all the money will be coming out. That is your main hub for your business. The second account is specifically designed for taxes. This is your tax account. And the reason why I specifically mentioned that you should have both of these accounts is because for taxes in particular, you want to make sure that you are saving money every time you get money. Every time you get a deposit into that bank account, a specific amount of money should be dedicated for taxes only. And to go into deeper detail, the reason why I specify 2 bank accounts is because if you only have one, maybe again, this might be just me, I might have $10,000 in that bank account, but in reality, $5,000 of that is actually for taxes. So by separating it into a specific bank account that has a specific purpose, it allows you mentally to separate your money so that you have a better understanding of what you truly have. When it's time to distribute your money elsewhere, you really have a better understanding of what that amount is. So depending on how much you make per year, the percentage of how much you want to take for taxes varies. For me, I take 30% of any deposit into my business bank account, my checking account, and put it into my tax account. For those of you starting, you might want to take 15% or 20%. Depending on, again, how much you make, it'll vary. But for example, say you invoice a client for $1,000 and $1,000 gets deposited into your business checking account. If you're going by 30% and that's how much you want to save for taxes, $300 of that $1,000 invoice will go into that business checking account. What does that leave you with? That leaves you with $700 of your own money to do with as you will. And if you were doing 20%, $800 would be yours and $200 would go in the tax account. Again, the percentage remains the same depending on what you want to take away, but the numerical value changes depending on what the deposited amount is. So keep that in mind every time you get a deposit into that checking account. It's not the same number every time, it's the same percentage. And make sure you do that religiously, because at the end of the year, when taxes come and you realize that you have a substantial amount in your tax account, and when your accountant hits you with how much money you owe, which means that you make profit, you have that money set aside. And a quick little tip, and this is a little benefit. If you save more in that tax account than how much you owe, say your accountant says that you owe $5,000, but in that tax account, you have $8,000. That means you saved more than how much you owe. So you pay that $5,000 and how much is left over? You have $3,000 left over. And you could do a few things with that. You could either gift yourself that $3,000 and do what you want with it, or you can keep it in that account and save it for the next year. There's nothing wrong with over saving for taxes, but there is a problem with not saving it all for taxes and being screwed at the end of the year when you owe money and you have nothing saved for it. So my tip is always be prepared for taxes, save that money, create a bank account specifically for taxes, and have an understanding of what percentage you want to take away for taxes based on the conversation that you have with your accountant and based on how much you perceive you're going to make income-wise. Be consistent, do it religiously, and you will not regret it when it comes time for tax season. Other bank accounts that I want to mention that I personally use, and these are examples of how I structure my bank accounts. And again, I don't recommend this for everybody. Some people may like my structure, some people may not. This is how I found it works best for me. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt and do your own due diligence. Talk to your banker, talk to your accountant to see what best structure works for you. But in terms of business, I have 3 accounts. I have my business checking account, I have my tax account, and I have a business line of credit. In terms of my personal account, I have a few more than my business. Personal, I have a checking account, I have an account specific for rent, I have an account for retirement, I have a rainy day or emergency fund, I have a joint savings account with my fiance, and I have a personal savings account for miscellaneous things or specific goals. To some of you, that may seem like an excessive amount of bank accounts to keep track of, and to some of you, you may understand why I do that. And the reason I do that goes back to the separation between the business checking and the tax account. I want to know where every single dollar of my money is going and why, where, and what is the purpose of it. It helps me refrain from combining them into one account or two accounts, for example. Like I said before, if you combine all your accounts, you may be convoluted into thinking that you might have more money than you actually do, or you may not have enough money in your savings account because it's all in your checking. By balancing it out properly for me and having all of these different accounts with specific goals and needs, for me, it gives me a better overall view of my financial portfolio and what I actually and truly have. Out of all of these different bank accounts, I want to mention two of them specifically that I highly recommend other than the business checking and tax account. The first one is a rainy day or emergency fund account. This one I can't recommend enough for all of you freelancers out there. For those of you that have been freelancing for a while, know that there are hills, there are valleys, there are ups, there are downs in freelance life, and it is unpredictable and you never know what's going to happen. That is why it is important to have a rainy day or emergency fund. One month you could be extremely busy, the next month you could be even busier, but the month after that and the month after that, you may not get a single job. It changes so rapidly and you never know how to anticipate it. But you know what doesn't change? Your rent bill, your utilities, your phone bill. Those bills are not forgiving. They don't have emotion. They don't care that you're not busy. They don't care that you haven't made money this month. They want money and they're going to get it from you no matter what. And that is really important to realize, is that regardless of if you make money, your bills are still going to be there and they're not going to leave you. And I know that I'm being harsh and this is an honest truth, but I have to be completely frank with you all in the fact that you have to be prepared for the days and the months that you're not making money. It is recommended by a lot of people that you have at least $1,000 in emergency fund or rainy day account. And this, if you can get there, is a great start. And I know a lot of people out there that are just starting. I don't even know how I'm going to be able to pay my bills this month, let alone save $1,000 in a rainy day account. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow. Start by putting $100 in that account, $200 in that account. Do it every week, every month. However you can to get to that number, that's what's important, is being consistent to get to that number. It took me 2-3 years to get to a place where I am truly comfortable in my emergency fund account, that I know that if I'm not working for a couple months, I'm okay. I don't have to worry about my bills because I spent a couple years building that account. And the reason why it took me so long is because I had other expenses. I had other things that I had to do, but I always made sure that I was still growing that account and I never took money out of it. So for those that feel comfortable with that $1,000 and you're done, I would highly recommend that you rethink that approach. If you're a freelancer, my recommendation would be at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in that emergency fund account. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, impossible. But like I said, it took me a couple years to get to this place. Don't stress over the fact that you can't do it right now. Take your time, build it up, but don't take it out. That's the important thing. Over the 2 years that I've been working on this emergency fund, I never took a single dollar out, not $1. Fortunately, I haven't had an instance where I've had an emergency to use it, but God forbid, now I have an account that I feel comfortable using. Start putting money aside, and I promise you that when that rainy day hits, because it will, you will not regret putting money aside when you are actually making money and you wanted to use it for a new car, you wanted to use it for all these different things, but you didn't have a rainy day account. Take the time now to build that account before you start spending money on personal things. The other account that I truly recommend is a retirement account. Yes, retirement, and yes, I am only 25 years old, and no, I don't plan on retiring anytime soon, but the idea of having a retirement account is extremely important to me and is in the forefront of my mind and has been since I was 23 years old. The reason why it's so important to me is because of the power of compound interest. And I understand that me in 40 years from now, when I'm 60, 65, 70, I will thank myself, my 23-year-old self, for starting it then. It doesn't have to be a lot. Same with the emergency fund. If you could only put $50 a month, if you could put $50 a week. When I first started my retirement account, I put $100 every single Monday for a whole year. And now I put a little bit more money, but the reason I started there was because that was a manageable amount for me. That wasn't overwhelming. It didn't take a lot, but it started my retirement portfolio at a decent pace and allowed me to be consistent with it. Start small, but be consistent. The other piece of advice that I would give you is do auto deposit, which means that whatever bank you're using for your retirement account will withdraw a certain amount of money whenever you want. Say it's every Monday without you knowing, because you did auto withdrawal. And for me, this was extremely beneficial because I didn't want to have to worry about depositing money every Monday. I'm going to be on set. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be distracted. I may forget. And you don't want to forget when it comes time to your retirement account. You want to be as consistent as possible. You want to take advantage of your youth if you're a young person. I was 23 when I started. I wanted to be as consistent as I could. So I put 100 every single Monday, no matter what. Just put it in there. Now I put more, and I'm equally as consistent. By the time I'm 60, 65, I will thank myself. And for those of you that are slightly older and that don't have a retirement account, I highly recommend you start and maybe be slightly more aggressive than I am. But yes, I would highly recommend getting an emergency fund account and starting your retirement account. So in terms of specific retirement accounts, I'm not going to go too deep into the woods on this, but there are plenty of IRA accounts or individual retirement accounts. Again, speak to your accountant, your advisor, go to different YouTube channels, and wait till the end of this video to see all the different channels that I recommend that talk about retirement accounts. There are so many different options to choose from, so do your due diligence, do your own research, and find which one is going to be best for you. All right, so that's a wrap on part 1 of personal finance for freelancers. Obviously, this one is a bit more generalized in talking about LLC, getting your business set up, the different types of bank accounts, retirement account, and why it's important to save for taxes and have an emergency fund. All these topics aren't specific to freelancers, but are extremely important to a freelancer. And if you don't have any of these accounts or you aren't doing any of these things, I highly recommend that you start doing some more research into these topics and start doing them. I know there's a ton of information, so definitely rewatch it if you feel that you learned a bit but didn't grasp all of the concepts. Rewatch it and maybe you'll learn something new the next time. Personal finance is a long journey. It's not easy. It's very hard. And don't get upset with yourself if you don't understand it or if you make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. It's okay. Use that opportunity to learn and grow from. As a freelancer, personal finance is not something to take lightly. The success of you and your business, your personal life, is solely reliant on your willingness to learn about money and how to manage it properly. And the last thing I want to talk about is that I truly do not believe in the starving artist mindset. You could talk to a lot of artists out there that believe that money isn't important. It's all about the art. And I get that. But to be completely honest with you, I do not subscribe to that mindset at all. I'm a businessman. I like money. I also love art. I'm an artist, but I also like making money. There's nothing wrong with the two. It's not this fueling battle where if you want to be an artist, you can't understand business or you shouldn't understand business. Or if you're a businessman, you shouldn't understand art or be an artist. There's a misconception out there that you have to be one or the other, and that is just not the case. To be completely honest, if you want to be an artist that sustains yourself throughout the next 20, 30 years, you want to have a family, you want to buy a house, you want to have kids, you want to have a wife, a husband, whatever it is, you can't do that without making money. So as you're starting your freelance journey, as you're starting your business as an artist or whatever endeavor you're taking, start by understanding your finances now while they're small. So when it gets to the place where you're growing, you're making more money, you have that backbone. You have the base knowledge of how to deal with finances at a small scale. So when you get to the larger scale, you don't feel overwhelmed. As artists, I truly believe that we should all be paid for our work and that we should live fruitful lives that aren't a fear of getting that next job or if we're going to pay our bills or have that starving artist mindset. I do not subscribe to that, and either should you. With all that being said, it starts with you taking control of your finances. It starts by taking a hard look at the way you spend money, the way that you have money coming in, and taking a look at how you can improve all of those things to better set yourself up for your future. It's up to you. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to hold your hand, but there are going to be plenty of people like me out there trying to guide you and help you along on your journey. And again, I'm only one of many people out there that provide valuable information. And I am not the most valuable person in the personal finance world. These following YouTube channels have truly helped me grow in my personal finance journey, and I highly recommend that you check them out for yourself. Life Accounting, Carlton Dennis, The Ramsey Show, Rich Dad Channel, Graham Stephan, Marco Whiteboard Finance, Clear Value Tax, Tommy Bryson, Nate O'Brien, and Ayman Ghazi. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and stay tuned for next week of part 2, which is going to be more specific to freelancers, and we talk about invoicing, expenses, taxes, tracking your money. And we're also going to be talking about debt as well and paying yourself through your business. So these are going to be important topics for those that don't really have any understanding of how to do these things. So stay tuned next week, and hopefully you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Peace out.